evening. Good
evening to
evening,
you.
loyal opposition as well. And we are here another Friday evening. And, it's a privilege. And I thank the Marcia Weekes Show for this opportunity.
I know we have a major subject to discuss tonight. Of course, we've been hearing a lot about it over the past week, and that has to do with these announcement of an initiative for the exploration of oil off the coast of Barbados. Of course, this is nothing new. If my mind serves me correctly, this was actually initiated back in the Owen Arthur governance, I believe. I stand to be corrected, but I believe there was some discussions back then. I believe it was with BP at the time, that is British Petroleum. And of course, I think that was revisited in 2022. And here we are again now in 2026. And I know this is something that I'm sure you have your own slate of questions.
You got that right. You are so right. And I would start with the first question. Is Barbados still committed to transforming into a 100% renewable energy and carbon neutral island? Is this still a fact? And yes, it may be a fact, but my question is, and maybe my concern is, how will we be able to remain in that situation? Yes, I know that we will say we will put things in place so that this remains so. But I ask the question, how much of it is in our control? And how well will we manage it based on our recent reputation? And I would just pull one ministry out off the top of my head. Housing. We promise a certain amount of houses, and this is what we are going to do. And we know how much we produce in comparison to what we said we will do. So I am judging based on what I usually hear and what I see at the end or for the end result. Good night, Beverly Prasad. Good night.
Good night,
to all the viewers. Yes, I'm seeing some of the comments. So I'm judging based on what I see usually happening. Are we able to stick to this? We said this is what we are going to do. And we would have said that the oil extracted offshore is intended strictly for foreign export. In other words, the cash that we receive will be used to purchase the battery storage and wind turbines needed for ourselves. All right. We're going to purchase the battery storage and the wind turbines needed to green our own island grid. We will not burn our own oil for electricity. We will not do that. And I'm asking the question, are we sure that's what's going to happen? Or are these just words? And it said, while Barbados' domestic grid will be clean, the island will still be actively exported carbon emissions to the rest of the world. How does that work? So we're going to be clean here, but we're going to be exporting. We're going to be exporting carbon emissions all to the rest of the world. But yet we are going to remain clean. This 166 square mile, this island, we are going to remain clean. That's what is being said. This is the reality. This is the backdrop. Those wealthy nations have failed to provide the promised billions in climate finance to help small islands transition. Therefore, we have to extract oil as a survival mechanism. Then we're going to use the profits of the fossil fuel economy to build defenses against the climate damage caused by that very economy. Now, this sounds conflicting, but I would say if we can get it done, great. But again, I'm looking at our past record of whether we were able to do what we say we are going to do. And if we are saying, hey, listen, going all over the world and begging, we've had to go all over the world and beg for grants to do what we say we will do. And now we have some oil in Barbados. So why will we continue going all over the world begging for grants and loans and whatever? When we have oil here, let's drill it. Let's get the money.
Drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill.
Drill, baby, drill. Let's drill our oil. Let's get some money. Let's get the money, and we will fulfill that promise.
We want money. You remember that? You remember that famous statement? We want money. Okay.
At the end of the day, money is what will drive the economy. So we want that money. So we are promising. I promise you. Listen, I'm not gonna use it. I'm gonna just sell it, and I'm gonna get some monies, and maybe we will get some more electric buses and some electric vehicles. And we will be cool in Barbados. That's what we say. That's what we say we are going to do. So we are still committed to transforming into 100% renewable energy. We are going to drill that oil. We're not going to use it here. We're going to sell it. And we will get the necessary money to, make sure we keep our commitment into 100% renewable energy and carbon neutral island. Sounds great. And to be honest with you, I hope it works as great as it sounds. But I have the question, will it work as great as it sounds? Will we be able? Yes, I know we have said we're going to put some things in place to make sure that we are careful as much as is possible and that all goes according to plan. But my question is, what if it doesn't go according to plan? What if it does not go according to plan? And I want to examine, the pros and the cons for oil exploration in Barbados. And the things that are in our favor is yes, and it is money, 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 money. Yes, lots of money. Lots of money if there is lots of oil. Yes, there's no doubt about that.
Well, there is a claim, Carolyn, that Barbados has the potential of some $13 billion in potential oil and gas, or 13 billion. I think Dave, you had it up a moment ago, in terms of the amount of oil, which is said to exceed what Guyana had. Of course, we know that for some years now, Venezuela, I think it was in Trinidad, I don't remember if Guyana was involved, were claiming that vein of oil runs from their sources. And so there you are, Barbados could be sitting on 13 billion barrels of oil, rivaling Guyana's Starbrook block. But as I'm listening to you speak, Caroline, there are a couple of questions I want to ask. If transitioning to this aspect of non-fossil fuel energy is going to be so dramatically successful and critical in reducing the carbon footprint, why are we seeing European Union countries, several of them, beginning to back away from the entire process? Several of them are dismantling their windmills at the moment. We have heard of several massive solar fields in the United States that have closed down. I have not been able to explore all of the rationale, but the reality is that many of these countries in the European Union, who, mind you, were some of the primary countries pushing this whole matter of climate change and carbon emissions. And the reality to me, when I think about it, I see these other countries beginning to back away. So I'm asking, is Barbados asking questions of those countries who are backing away from the use of windmills and massive solar capability as to why they are doing that? And then the other question that comes to my mind, you talk about Barbados becoming, let me make sure I get it right, energy independent. Did I get that right? I hope I got it right.
Committed to transforming into 100% renewable energy.
Thank you. 100% renewable energy.
Island.
But we have 180, so I am told, 180,000 vehicles on the road in Barbados. The majority of all of them, including some of the recently imported ones, they use fossil fuel. So how are we going to transition the country? I'm talking about the country, because if you're going to talk to me about the country, it has to impact every segment. How are we going to be transitioning to this kind of an environment when we have 180,000 vehicles on the road that use fossil fuel?
Dr. Ferdinand, with the amount of money that we are going to get from this oil, we are going to buy more electric buses. We're going to get rid, we're going to buy all electric vehicles. We're going to have so much money that we're going to buy the electric vehicles, and they're coming to Barbados,
and they're going to give them away to the citizens. They're going to distribute them.
We're going to have so much money that we can sell them at even cheaper now than the vehicles that we are getting. So
we'll probably get free electric cars then.
Not free. No, you're not getting them free. You're going to get them at a price. Dr. Ferdinand, you're going to get it at a price. No, nothing is free. You're going to get them at a price. This oil is going to be so much that you're going to get them at a cheaper price, and it's going to be fine. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, Dr. Ferdinand. Don't you worry. Personally, I believe that there is oil. I
Oh,
believe
there
that
is.
yes.
There
I
is.
believe
There
I
is.
believe that. I believe
Yes.
that.
It has been proven. It has been substantiated by
Yeah.
BP. They have shown it, and But let me introduce another question very quickly, Carolyn. Not meaning to cut across your presentation. Please forgive me.
Okay, go ahead.
But I've heard a lot about the transitioning, and of course, I'm a motor vehicle fanatic,
Yes, yes.
and I know that these vehicles, most of them, even the high class vehicles, give 8 to 10 year warranties on their batteries. Because at the end of 8 to 10 years, I'm told by the manufacturers of automobiles that the batteries only last 8 to 10 years, and that at present, batteries cost around 40 to 50,000 Barbados dollars to replace. I wonder in 8 to 10 years, based on the value of an automobile by depreciation compared to the costs at that time of a battery, how many people are going to be able to get rid of their vehicles to change them? That's one. And then secondly, what are we going to do with all of the lithium batteries? That is an environmental hazard of the highest order. What are we going to do with all these lithium batteries that are going to come onto the market? Just a couple of questions to add to your pool.
Dr. Ferdinand, I believe we're gonna have so much money that we're gonna be able to deal with that. We're gonna be able to deal with that. We're gonna come up with something. We're gonna come up with something to handle that. Not to worry, not to worry, not to worry.
Dear
Not
dear
to
me.
worry. That's a very valid question. But when we have enough money from this oil, we're going to be able to hire the experts that will be able to come and come up with some way of how we're going to handle these things, because we're going to be hiring the best people.
Well,
You
this
know,
is actually a question I wanted to ask you as well.
Go ahead.
Who's going to be taking the responsibility for the development of the oil drilling and this type of thing? Who's going to be responsible for that? Is it going to be the Barbados government? Or are they, I understand that well, no, let me say that. Or are they going to seek overseas financing? Are they going to be seeking organizations that will do it at the cost to the organization with some profit arrangement with them? How is that going to work?
Let me say here and now, I'm speaking on behalf of Caroline Raw. I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone else, so that nobody gets
Yes,
mixed up on
absolutely.
what I'm
Absolutely.
saying. Yeah,
Entitled to questions.
right. So I'm questioning, and I'm saying, I'm saying what I would love to see transpire too. I would love this to work out, to be honest, and I would love that every citizen in Barbados, that we have a share in this oil. I honestly think that would be great. So I'm looking forward to all of that. But I believe that we all know we would be looking for the best persons to handle to do this drilling, or whatever has to be done. Of course, if we found oil, we are able to probably go and get the necessary financing. Don't forget, we can draw down. You forget we have that there. We can draw down. We have the what we call,
260 million
yes,
dollars standby arrangement
yes,
with
right,
the IMF.
right. We can draw down on that. I'm thinking, and we have some money, Dr. Ferdinand. We can do that, and we can get the best possible persons to do all that has to be done. We can make sure we put in our fine, what we expect, and ensure that these things are followed, because all of this is important. All of this is going to be important, because we want to get that oil and get the maximum money. That is a pro, so that we can offset the cons, the negatives. Yeah, so we will get billions of dollars. Yeah, we're able to reduce the 400 million a year that we spent on imported fossil fuels. So we will be able to reduce that. And then, we will have energy security, against the fuel price, the spike, and, the supply disrupt. We're going to have that energy security. We're going to have national wealth. Those are the pros. Those are the pros. And that sounds great. That sounds great. Sounds really great. But then we have the other end of it. And of course, Dr. Ferdinand, there's an environmental risk. We can have all of the best laid plans, and there's something called an accident. No one's fault, an accident. So we can have something like an oil spill. An oil spill can harm our coral reefs and destroy our marine life. So that's something we have to look at. And we can put as much in place as we possibly can. But an accident is an accident. It's not intentional. And you can't prevent an accident. You can prevent some of them, but not all of them. So that is something we will have to be very watchful of and mindful. Are we going to get enough money that in the event that there's an oil spill, we can take care of our coral reefs and the marine life and everything that will be affected? Is it going to be enough? We also have a tourism, it's going to be a tourism threat if we have that oil spill. And we know tourism is our main industry. Oil spill, what will become of our beaches? What will become of our fishing industries? Will we have enough money? Because now these things are going to be negative. This is going to be a negative factor. Is this going to cost money if we lose our tourism industry and our fishing industry? Not to forget that, because an oil spill can wipe out. We're just 166 square miles. Tutus, we'll be surrounded. We can be surrounded. So if our tourism industry is wiped out and our fishing industry is wiped out, will we have enough monies coming from this oil? That's something we'll have to think about. And I dare say we have to pray about it, Dr. Ferdinand.
Well, I was made to understand that an announcement had been made by the minister responsible for energy, that the country is offering oil exploration licenses to companies who may have the resources to be able to drill for the oil. It will not be government funded. Now, neither is there any guarantees that any of the searches may actually give us commercially viable oil. And if there's no commercially viable oil, the question has to be asked: how do the investors then get back their money when these licenses are actually issued? Now, I believe there is a clip that Dave has to do with oil spills, because if in the event something of this nature happens, it would be assumed that the companies who would have received the licenses and the permissions to drill would be responsible for the cleanup. So I don't know, Dave, if you can run that video for us that you have, and let's see what it says as it relates to the matters of an oil spill.
Fact 8. The coral limestone beneath your feet on Barbados is not just rock. It is a living filtration machine. Rain falls, enters the ground, and spends weeks traveling through fractures and cave networks, emerging at the coast as purified spring water. The island's entire water supply is processed by geology. But that same system has a critical flaw. One significant oil spill in the wrong coastal location permanently poisons the aquifer. The purification system and the contamination pathway are the same system. There is no separating them.
Now that's an interesting point right there. I mean, you know, once you destroy our coral reefs, you know, it's taken I don't know, millions of years or whatever for our coral reefs to be developed. And I'm all for the oil exploration. I still have a number of questions as it relates to any connections between the announcement, and incidentally, our Prime Minister is supposed to be the keynote speaker. Let me see if I have my information correct. Is supposed to be the keynote speaker at let me get this right, at in Nigeria, I think it was June the 21st, to address the African Bank Conference as keynote speaker. And that's what the information I have has indicated to me. And I'm just wondering, you know, what is, if there is any relationship or any intent to have a relationship between the Afro-Exim Bank and the efforts that are being made in terms of oil exploration, because we don't know anything. That's the problem. The problem with this administration is that it doesn't tell the people anything, period. It just goes about doing what it has to do, no explanations, no accountability, no transparency. So it is left for the people to conclude certain things.
Yes,
which I think is a reckless way of leadership. You should be able, if this is a democratic country, if you have the mandate, you say, from the people, then it should not be problematic for you to come back to the people and tell the people what is happening. Tell them what you intend. What is the intent in terms of exploration? Where is the financing coming from? I'm also made to understand that the African Bank just provided a $750 million landmark deal with Africa's leading indigenous energy company called E.M.M.A. And it was hailed as one of the best oil deals in the world. And incidentally, the chairman of that AIS energy system is Mr. Tony Elumu, who is a Nigerian economist and an investor who came to Barbados and had major meetings with our energy minister, who was the foreign minister at the time, and actually at one time was tipped to be the governor of the central bank here in Barbados. So what are we seeing in terms of these? Is there any connections? What are the synergies that are going on here in the context of what you refer to as the history of this administration? Mr. Elumu, I hope I have his name correct. He came here. He's going to Egypt as well on 21st of June to give a keynote address there as well. And it is he is the chairman of this energy organization, this energy company. And here we now have the Afro-Exim Bank coming into Barbados very shortly. If say, it's here already. And so we're asking if there are any connections. Are there any connections between what is being presented in terms of what the government is saying, and for that matter, Africa, the entire African continent for that matter, because we could be dealing with Nigeria, we could be dealing with other countries in Africa that are exploring. As you know, Africa is exploring a lot of their natural resources right now to break the colonial grip that countries in Europe like France have had over them over the years. And that's why I'm beginning to say, I don't know if you're aware of it. I was just trying to find it while you were talking. Namibia, I think it is, has also begun the exploration of oil in their area as well. So here we are pushing climate change. Barbados is the climate change advocate around the world. And here we are drilling for oil in our territorial waters, okay, while we are advocating for climate change because we're claiming that carbon emissions are destroying the atmosphere. And from my observations, for example, I watched a committee hearing in the United States to do with carbon dioxide, which is the gas that I'm being told is the one that is being hailed as the one destroying our atmosphere, carbon dioxide. And I asked the question, as did the person at the time, 0.0001% of the atmosphere is carbon dioxide. It is that small because carbon dioxide is breathed by plants. And we have had a revitalization of several forests. I heard the Guyanese president in an interview recently talk about an increasing in the aspect of the forest in Guyana. Brazil is also talking about it. And so the plants breathe carbon dioxide and release oxygen, which is what we breathe. So it is ludicrous for Mr. Bill Gates in a TED talk to talk about going to zero emissions of carbon dioxide, because if we did, every plant on the earth would die.
Yeah.
And so would we. But then again, that is his strategy in terms of reducing the population of the world. And he is focusing primarily on Africa. Forgive me for the interjection. I hope I haven't gone too far away from your aspects.
That's okay. I see V Hoy here saying we can't even discard our own garbage.
And I see Pedro Gemont referring to the fact that carbon dioxide is the gas of life. You know, and they're telling me it's not only carbon. Here's Pedro Gemont. Not only climate change, but net zero. You know, so clearly, I don't think these people know what they're talking about, to be brutally frank. And I promise one night to really dig into this climate change matter. Because they're a bunch of liars and a bunch of conspiracy. Governments are more conspiracy theorists than the people are.
I think they follow the script, and everyone is on, is aligned. This is the script. This is what we're going to be saying.
Without question. Without question, Carolyn. Al Gore started this in 1993 when he was vice president of the United States of America. And he said that by the year 2021 or something like that, that all of the coastal towns would be submerged by water. Well, that hasn't happened. And as a matter of fact, I think it's either the Arctic or Antarctica has increased its ice capability, ice cap, by 547,000 tons of ice. You see, this is why these governmental and political leaders are regurgitating information coming from a group of people who are only interested in robbing the taxpayers of their money through a climate change process, so that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And that is the fun. You know, they always tell me, follow the money. They always tell me, follow the money. You know, I don't want to get into this now, you know, in terms of the climate change, but I have the facts. We have the climate people, the scientists who are showing that all of this stupid talk about climate change is nothing but a scam. Anyhow, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that there for now.
Yes, Barbados is committed to what it says about the climate change. We are going to get the oil. We want the money from the oil. We're going to sell it to the other persons. But we ourselves, we are committed to what we said we are committed to. My question is this so? Is it really so? Or are we just saying what we want or what we think people want to hear? And I would always, and I'll say in closing my section, I hope that we manage this better than I've seen us manage anything else in Barbados.
But there's
That
so
we
much. Sorry.
not lose out on this.
There's so much more, Carolyn, that we can cover in terms of Africa, the financing, in terms of climate change advocacy, and all of these different kind of things. To me, this is a very deep and in-depth discourse that is needed in terms of even if we export all that we find, and we bring in the financing to do all of the transitioning to renewable energies and these different kinds of things. We are talking about establishing a data center, and maybe that is one of the reasons they're trying to look at it, because if there's one thing that I have observed across the world, is that data centers consume massive amounts of electricity. And in every area where they have been established, there has been an increase in the electricity costs for the citizens. As a matter of fact, many people do not realize it, but Barbados ranks 16th in the highest cost of electricity in the world. Barbados ranks at number 16. Out of 196 countries, I think is what the UN information tells me. Barbados ranks at number 16 as being among the top 20 most expensive countries when it comes to electricity. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Well, Carolyn, thank you so very much. Don't